Welcome to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Chavez. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and restorative wellness practitioner on a mission to change the way that we support women with endometriosis. Endo is a full-body disease that impacts your mind, body, and spirit in countless ways that aren't often addressed the way that women truly deserve. We are here to talk about all of it. Please keep in mind that the content of this show has been created for educational purposes only and should never be used as a replacement for medical diagnosis or treatment. Hello, my friend, and welcome back to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different vibe from the things that we kind of typically talk about on the podcast. We focus a lot on nutrition and gut health and digestion and just how to support yourself holistically. But one thing that I am super passionate about is helping endo warriors just to feel empowered to take your health into your own hands. And that means many things to me, right? In part, that means knowing how to care for your own body, knowing how to feed and nourish yourself, and just some strategies that can help to support your symptoms and your overall health so that you don't feel like you're just stuck in life the way it is, right? Because that's just not a very good feeling. And I know I hated feeling that way. To me, though, I think the other piece of empowerment is being able to choose the people that you have around you. And that can certainly be in your personal life as well, right? Your relationships and friends and all the people that you have in your circle on a day-to-day basis, but also the practitioners that you have in your circle, right? And of course, this can be a little bit challenging to navigate sometimes just based on insurance or financial restrictions and things like that. So you have to do your best within that. But I feel like it's really important to, if you're going to be working with a practitioner of any kind, to have a trusting two-way relationship that is going to actually benefit you as an endo warrior. And you're not just throwing your money away or leaving yourself feeling worse than when you started and not actually reaching your health goals and experiencing that transformation that you came in for, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're going to a practitioner of any kind, whether it's a medical doctor or some kind of holistic practitioner, you're going into that because you want some kind of transformation in your health. You're looking to feel better. That may mean you want to be out of pain. That may mean you want your energy back. That might mean that you want to protect your fertility and be able to have a healthy pregnancy in the future. There's so many different directions that can go based on your own goals. And that's absolutely something that we're going to talk about today. And this episode really came about because I've been doing some consultations lately. So basically what that is for people who are interested in my one-on-one services that I do, I offer a free consultation, either over the phone or over a video chat. And that allows space for me to hear a little bit more about what's been going on. It allows me to connect with the person as an actual human being and kind of get to know them and what their goals are, what the primary symptoms are that they're experiencing. And I can tell them a little bit about what I do and how I work and if that would be a good fit and just help them to make the best decision for their body, whether that ends up being working with me or not. So I've been on some of these consultations. I've had quite a few over the last few weeks here. And I've been noticing a recent theme coming up that just keeps popping up. And I wanted to kind of just bring it to the table today because I think it's an important conversation to have. And what that is I've been noticing a trend of just red flags coming up, both with medical providers and with more holistic providers like functional medicine practitioners and other holistic type providers. And I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm not going to be calling anybody specific out. It's not about that. I'm just going to bring some of these conversations to the table so that as you are picking and choosing the best practitioners and providers for yourself, that you can make the best decisions for yourself. Because like I said, feeling empowered is just one of the biggest principles for me in my life, and also as I'm thinking about working with clients, and even as I'm building out this upcoming membership that I'm building out, the Endo Warrior Circle. Empowerment is just one of those key elements that keeps coming up. So I do think that building a team around you is super important and helpful. Having a good doctor, having somebody who can help you with nutrition and figuring out the kind of the underlying root causes. I'm a big fan, of course, of the functional type work. I may be a little biased on that because that's the area that I work in functional nutrition. But I know there's also many other providers, acupuncturists out there. I recently had a guest who is an acupuncturist and is doing wonderful work in the endo community as well. And traditional Chinese medicine, pelvic floor therapists. I mean, there's so many different providers out there who can be really beneficial, even massage therapists and energy workers and breath work and yoga instructors. Like, there's so many things. And I think building this team of people around you who really get it and can help you to get you where you want to go is super powerful. Because endo is complex. Let's be real. Now, of course, you do have to work typically within your budget and your lifestyle. That's totally understandable. You do what you can do. But I did want to just talk today about some of those red flags that I've seen coming up, just so I can share that with you. And these are the things that when I hear them, it just tells me like, okay, that was probably not a good fit. Run the other way, find someone else, right? So I hope that this conversation is helpful for you and can help you to make the best decisions for you and your body as you are navigating this endo journey. So let's dig in. Number 1 is your goals are not aligning with their methods or protocols. Perfect example of that is with fertility. So I actually had somebody come to me recently that we were having a conversation, and she was talking about fertility was really her major goal. And she had been recently to a functional medicine practitioner who was, helping her out and taking her through some protocols and whatever it is that they were doing. But she had expressed that fertility was one of her major goals in her health. And that practitioner was actually putting her on some different herbs and things that are actually contraindicated with pregnancy. So she didn't want to take them while she's trying to conceive, and ended up at the end of the day not going back to that particular practitioner. I also see things like that in the medical world. I mean, that was something that I experienced myself, where I would go to see a doctor saying, hey, my goal is to be able to conceive and have a healthy pregnancy. And then they would turn right around and recommend putting me back on birth control. And it's like, well, that certainly doesn't align with my goals. That's not going to work out, especially, maybe if it's for the short term to achieve a certain goal. Although for me personally, I still would not opt for that. But they're talking like, oh, just go on birth control forever for the rest of your life. And I was like, oh, no, that's not going to work for me. Super important that whoever you're working with, that your goals are aligning with what they're doing with you, how they're working with you. Red flag number 2 is that you just don't feel comfortable and don't get a good vibe from that particular person. And I say follow your intuition on this. If you are meeting somebody and right off the bat, you just don't get a good vibe, you're not clicking with them, you're not connecting with them, you feel uncomfortable in any way, follow your gut and run the other way. I actually have a perfect example of this one. This was something that happened in my own life. I had my endometriosis excision surgery back in 2022 with a specialist, and everything went well, but she had wanted to actually go in and do a second surgery because there was a spot involving my colon that she was a little uneasy about doing on her own. She actually wanted a colorectal specialist to come in. And she had referred me to her favorite colorectal specialist who she works with on a regular basis. And that particular option actually didn't end up working out because of insurance and, some details. So she gave me a number just for a general surgeon that could fill that spot as well. So I went and met with this guy. And even just walking into the office, I didn't get a good vibe. Finally met with the guy. And he basically looked at me and was like, why are you here? It says here you have endometriosis. I don't even understand why you're coming to a general surgeon. You're in the wrong place. Why don't you just go back on birth control? That was the gist of the conversation, which lasted about 5 minutes. And I immediately just did not feel comfortable with this guy. I was like, look, I don't care if you're the last surgeon on earth. I am not going to be under anesthesia, unconscious, and have you in the room. Like there was no way that was going to happen. So followed my instinct on that, turned around, left the office, never went back again. Ended up getting a call back like a year later asking why I hadn't scheduled with him, but that's a different story. All right, red flag number 3, feeling judged. And this is one that I feel like often, where people are coming to me and saying, yeah, you know what, I've tried this kind of holistic approach before. I actually find that I hear this one more about holistic type practitioners than anything well, that's not true. I certainly hear it about medical providers as well. But things like maybe you weren't following your protocol perfectly, or you fell off the bandwagon as far as diet, and kind of feeling judged for that, like, oh, you didn't do this perfectly, so now you're a bad person, kind of vibe. And nobody needs that in their life, right? Having endo is hard enough. Or things like, going to a medical doctor and kind of getting laughed at because you're making dietary changes, like feeling judged about the choices that you're making for your own body. Things like that. Just where it kind of just makes you feel icky and judged. Like all of a sudden you feel like you're 5 years old being laughed at. I don't think that is beneficial for anybody. If you feel that way, I think that is probably not the best provider for you. Maybe you're just not on the same wavelength. You're not connecting. I personally tell my one-on-one clients all the time, it's not about being perfect. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to meet you where you are. Because I want people to feel comfortable coming to me and saying, hey, you know what? We talked about these dietary changes. I'm really struggling with it. Do you have any suggestions for me? And I want to be able to have those open and honest conversations. That's something that's really important to me. And I find that is not always the case, unfortunately. Red flag number 4, gaslighting. And this is a big one. I actually probably should have even started with this one because it's a big deal. I hear about this one all the time. Just the whole not being listened to, making you feel like it's all in your head, brushing off your experience and your symptoms, people not believing how much pain you're in, anything like that. If you're in any sort of doctor's office or even holistic practitioners, if they're not listening to the symptoms that you're describing and really, really listening and really taking that in, that's not the provider for you, right? It's your body. You know your body better than anybody else. I've even had experiences with clients where they're coming to me saying, hey, you know what? I took the supplement that you recommended, for example, and I feel like XYZ is coming up, after the fact. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, I feel like that sounds more like a food reaction, but you know what? Your instinct is telling you think it might be that supplement. So let's go ahead and take that out and see what happens. And we'll experiment with, because everybody's body just reacts differently. There's no way to know exactly how somebody's body is going to react to anything. And everybody's just a little bit different. I learn something from every single client that I work with. And, I think just being listened to and having your thoughts and your gut instincts taken into consideration is super important along the way. Number 5, red flag here today, is just giving a pill for every ill. And again, that can happen either direction. I see that happen within the medical world where, It's just a medication for everything. You're describing a symptom, here's a medication for that. You describe another symptom, here's a medication for that. Oh, you're having a side effect from that medication, here's another medication for that. Now, of course, especially when it comes to medications, that's all very individual. There are instances where medication is warranted. I'm not here to tell you when or when not to take medications. That's not my place here, nor would I want it to be. Of course, those are conversations that you need to have with a doctor, but just something to be considering. And is that even something that aligns with you? Is that something that you want? Because if not, it's okay to find another doctor, get a second opinion on that, on whether that medication is beneficial for you, if you need to still be taking that, if there are other options, if you are experiencing side effects, what can we do about that? Is there another possibility that may not come with those side effects? Just conversations, right? I think are really important. But the funny thing is that I see sometimes the same thing with supplements. I actually had a conversation with a prospective client recently who was talking about a previous experience with a functional medicine practitioner who was giving them just a supplement for everything. It was like, oh, you've got low vitamin D, here's a supplement. Oh, there's things going on with your blood sugar, here's 3 supplements for that. Oh, you've got some GI stuff going on, here's another 10 supplements for that. And it ended up with being like 26 supplements a day or something like that, which is just a lot, and I like supplements. Like, that's something that I use a lot in my practice, but I think just being aware of overall pill count and also just prioritizing, right? And also listening to each individual. I've got some clients who love the supplements and are all about that and, give me all the supplements, cool, awesome, fine. And I have other people coming to her like, yeah, like, I'll take the supplements, but I don't love them. I even had a client recently who just had trouble swallowing supplements. So we were kind of minimizing that and trying to find, even some liquid forms of things so she wouldn't have to just be swallowing pills all the time. So, it's just, and really my point of this with this particular red flag was just, are you actually trying to get to the root of the issue, or are you just slapping a pill on it, right? Because then it becomes almost the same thing. Even if you're using natural things like, nutrients and herbs and things like that, that's still not the same thing as actually figuring out what's driving that symptom in the first place, if you're not really exploring that at the same time. All right. Red flag number 6 is kind of goes along the same lines, just feeling overwhelmed because you are doing 22 protocols at once, taking 30 supplements per day, and not even sure what you're addressing anymore. Like, you're just doing so many things. Nobody really took the time to explain to you why, what you're actually trying to do, what you're trying to address, how that actually connects back to your symptoms, because I think that's very easy to get overwhelmed with all of that. And that can happen sometimes, right? Endometriosis in and of itself is a lot. Like, it's okay if you feel overwhelmed sometimes, but if you do, is that practitioner willing to have a conversation with you around that and help you get to a place of, feeling less overwhelmed? Do we need to do less? Do we need to take this in smaller pieces? Do we need to focus on just one thing at a time? Because sometimes that just works better for people, All right, red flag number 7 is wanting to take a radical approach before starting with the basics. Now, again, this can be a little bit individual because some people like jumping straight into larger protocols and things like that. But I also think that you can't skip the foundations. You can't skip over the basics, right? If you're building a house, you can't start building the roof before you've laid the foundation and built the walls. In addition to that, it's kind of just that jumping to the worst case scenario thing. There's a time and a place for that, right? Like, this is not specifically endo related, but something like, oh, my appendix ruptured. Like, yeah, okay, we probably should rush you into surgery and get that taken care of. Like, yeah, we do need to take a radical approach for that. Again, not medical advice, just seems logical. So there's a time and a place for everything, but I see things like that. Like with holistic practitioners, we have so much knowledge. Like, I study this stuff a lot. I'm studying gut protocols, and or not protocols, but gut health. I'm studying hormones. I'm like, there's so many different things whirring around in my brain, how the nutrients impact your body. But I see sometimes, holistic practitioners just jumping into these huge protocols and wanting to like rebalance your microbiome and balance the hormones and, trying to do all this stuff without first just focusing on the foundations. Like, I had a client come to me who had already done some gut healing work, had already worked with a practitioner. She had SIBO in the past and had already worked with somebody about that. But then when I was having a conversation with her, I realized that they'd addressed that, like they had done, some antimicrobials and things, like worked on rebalancing, but they had never even talked about diet. It was kind of a brushed off conversation, like, oh, well, it looks like you're eating pretty healthy already, so cool. Let's just focus in on this, where when we really dug in, it turned out, there was still some work that could be done on diet and, just the foundational stuff like, oh, are you even drinking enough water? Are you actually eating vegetables? Just some of that really foundational stuff where we can get a long way before we even start getting into those protocols. Or from the medical perspective, things like jumping right into having a hysterectomy without even discussing having an excision surgery first. And who knows, for some people that might be the right option. Some people probably go to their doctors requesting that. And, I'm not here to judge you. That was one of our red flags that we talked about earlier. But I think being able to discuss kind of initial steps before we dig into those radical approaches, I find that a lot of people really prefer that and feel better with that. So just things to consider as you are shopping for practitioners of any kind. All right, number 8 on our list of red flags here is just feeling like a number and not a human, and not really being given the time of day. Those little 5-minute in and out appointments, which again, I get. Like, I know when I met with my surgeon, it's not like she had hours and hours to spend with me. She's got other patients, but at least I felt like when I was in the office, she knew my name, she was talking to me like a human being. She was looking up from the chart and making eye contact. That kind of stuff matters to me. Like right now, if I sat down, I could list out the name of every single one of my clients that I work with, and I could tell you like a pretty in-depth details about every aspect of them, not just their symptoms. Like I could certainly tell you, what their current symptoms are and what's going on in their bodies and what we've seen on test results. But I can also tell you where they live. I can tell you a little bit about their life and what they like to do and what their challenges and struggles are, what's been going really well for them, the things they've been working on. Like I can tell you so many things. I won't, of course, because I have respect for my clients' privacy. I'm not going to certainly do that publicly on a podcast or anywhere. But the point is that I know my people, right? And that's something that's really important to me. I've experienced that where I've been in an office and just, they don't even know my name. They don't even remember what we talked about the last time that we met. And it just feels icky. Like, okay, they don't even know anything about me. Like, okay, we talked about fertility last time and here you are talking about birth control again. Like, can we pay attention to my overall experience as a human being? I don't know, just a thought. All right, red flag number 9, being given up on, right? Like, oh my gosh, you just have so many things going on. You're kind of a lost cause. I don't even know where to begin. If you ever get that vibe from somebody of, practitioner of any kind, run the other way. You need to find somebody who doesn't even necessarily have to be somebody who has all the answers immediately, because it can take some time to get to know you and your body and just trial and error, right? Because it's never as cut and dry as like this exact approach works for everybody. In fact, that really should be added to my red flag list as well. Just having those cookie cutter protocols that you think just works for everybody, because that drives me crazy too. There is no one size fits all solution. Okay, we're going to have a little add-in red flag there as well. But yeah, if you feel like somebody's working with you and just you feel like they've just given up, like they're just going through the motions and not really trying to figure out how to help you, again, red flag, run the other way. All right, red flag number 10, last on my list for today, is just having some quick fix solutions without really getting to the root of your symptoms, not really asking why those symptoms are present. Even using hormones as an example, this is one that I've seen a lot lately too, where, somebody will come to me and be like, oh, I've been told I have excess estrogen. Okay. So what was done about that? And it can be from a medical provider. I've seen things like, again, just go on birth control to quote unquote balance your hormones. I've also seen from holistic providers like, oh, I was told I had excess estrogen, so they put me on DIM, which is a supplement. And again, that doesn't really get to the root of why that's going on in the first place, right? Like, why is there excess estrogen? It's just not just a matter of clearing it and helping your body to metabolize that estrogen, but it's a matter of figuring out why that's happening in the first place. Because there are a lot of things we can look at to actually get to the root of that instead of just, slapping a quick solution on it, taking a little quick pill. All right, so that's my list for today. I'm sure there's more than that. I even just added one on the fly there, but that's really my list of things that I've seen coming up a lot lately. So just a quick recap on that, our 10 red flags for today. Number 1 was that your goals aren't aligning with their methods or protocols. Number 2, you just don't feel comfortable or don't get a good vibe. Number 3, you feel judged. Number 4, gaslighting. Number 5, just getting a pill for every ill. Number 6, feeling overwhelmed and not having that taken into consideration. Number 7, just jumping right into a super radical approach and skipping over the basics. Number 8, feeling like a number and not a human being. Number 9, being given up on. Number 10, quick fix solutions. And I'll just throw in my on the fly number 11, which was just getting a cookie cutter protocol that's the same for everybody. Now, I am not going to claim to be a perfect practitioner over here, right? I fully aware that I'm always learning myself, but I do my best to actually connect with my clients and help them to feel the best that they can, all that good stuff. So I'm not saying that I have all the answers and I know everything and I'm better than everybody. That's not the point of this. All I'm wanted to share here today is just some observations that I've had, and more importantly, just this relates back to some of the conversations that I've had with some of my current clients, some of my prospective clients that I've chatted with, because I like to really hear what's going on. I like to kind of keep to my ear to the ground, and I feel like it helps me to just become a better practitioner as well, because as I'm hearing these concerns and thoughts and patterns that I see going on out there, it helps me to, better myself and be able to better connect with and help my clients so they can actually experience those transformations in their health that they're coming to me for. Something that's really important for me. But also, as an endo warrior myself, and I know I'm speaking with fellow endo warriors out there who are listening, it's all about just finding your people, finding the right people for you. I don't have to be the right person for you. If you're listening to this podcast and not vibing it and not really connecting with what I'm saying and feeling it, I might not be the right practitioner for you. I'm never going to claim to be the right person for everybody. There may be somebody else out there who even could do similar work to what I do, but maybe you connect with more. And if that's the case, cool. You do you, I really encourage you more than anything to just find your people that it feels good to you. It feels like the right fit. Your goals are aligned. You feel taken care of. You feel supported. You feel like you're heading in the right direction, like you're walking alongside somebody on that pathway. And I think that's really the most important part. All right, my friend, if you find that there's anything on this list that I missed that you've seen it as a big red flag in your own endo journey, share with me. Head over to Instagram. You can find me at EndoBellyGirl, and feel free to shoot me a DM. I would love to hear about your experience because, like I said, it helps me to become a better practitioner. It helps me to be more aware of what's going on out there with my fellow endo warriors so I can just better support all of you along the way. So, hope to chat with you all soon. You take care and have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me today, my friend. If you loved what you heard, be sure to share with a friend and subscribe so that you can keep coming back for more. If you are ready to take the next step towards getting to the root cause of your endo symptoms like endo belly, pain, fatigue, and so much more, you need to download my free ultimate guide to building your own endometriosis diet. You can find the link in the show notes or at www.endobellygirl.com. Until next time, my friend.